Hey, welcome to Growing to part three of part four, and we're in the winter time. I've been discussing the romance time, the summertime, the courtship, the dating time, all the way to the first couple 3 years of marriage. And then yesterday we discussed the fall, the reality of fall. When you start seeing the issues in your spouse, and you find out that they're not as perfect as you thought they were, and there's some things that you really need to change in them because they need changing, and you begin to figure out that you're not able to change them, and the person who you were dating was the one that you're continued to be married to. We move to the winter months, and I know a lot of this sounds like doom and gloom, but there are those who definitely try to work through these things, but we're showing exactly some of the things that I've seen in the last 14, 15 years of counseling. When you come to the winter months are cold and dark. And oftentimes people have foregone and not taken care of their marriages like they should. So when they get to this point in their life, in their marriages, they find it very difficult to recover. These are the marriages from 15 years to about 25 years of being married. And so, what we see this season that's often accompanied with teenagers, even middle schoolers, all the way up to high schoolers, those getting ready to graduate and go into college. And there's a lot of stress that comes with teenagers. A lot of times, you haven't set any rules or boundaries for when they're going to start dating, even when they were young. And so, they sort of set those rules for you. And there's some things that you didn't think about. You didn't think about all the financial pressures that would come with teenagers. You thought your kids were expensive when they were little. Just wait until they're teenagers, and you'll find out just how expensive these teens really are. And so it adds more financial pressures. And some of you start looking at the people beside you and see what those parents are buying for their kids, and you think they have to have the best for everything. So it just adds more and more stress, which includes more and more work hours. And then you start having conflict over parenting issues. Some of you are saying, I think we should be done with grounding, or no more spankings, or one of you thinks they should date at 15 or 14 or 13, and the other one says, no, we're not waiting. We're waiting till they're at least 16 or 17 because they're not ready. And so there's a lot of parenting issues and conflicts because of a lot of things that wasn't discussed prior to them becoming teenagers. Midlife crisis also sort of sneaks in at this time, and sometimes there's a lot of undue spending and wanting to sort of stretch your legs. You sort of see that you're coming halfway through your life, or a little more than that, and you are seeing the end coming quicker than what you thought. Not only this, we see the resentment, and it's not just a little resentment anymore. It's full scale resentment towards your spouse, and you begin to resent them more than you ever thought you would. Maybe it's due to something in the past, maybe because you were not able to change them and they were not able to meet up to the standards you thought they should. So you begin to have unrestrained bitterness towards them, and you barely even talk to them anymore. And you find that you no longer respect them. Maybe that you ladies, you're around ladies at work, and all you find is you're talking about your husbands and how terrible they are, how they can't fix anything, how they're really no good, and you're just better off on your own. Maybe you're sitting at the salon and you hear constant conversation about other women putting down their husbands, and you're going, yeah, I agree with that. And therefore, the husbands don't love you. They don't fill your love tank, and they're not trying to show how much they appreciate you at this point because there is so much bitterness and resentment that's built up. And so because of these things, we often see results such as this, is we see a loss of hope in relationship. And no longer, even if you're a Christian or not a Christian, because the divorce rate is the same, is you start thinking, you know what, there's no hope. And God himself cannot even get us through all the baggage and all the water that's underneath the bridge. In fact, some of you even tried a little bit of counseling, or you've tried to watch a video, or you try to do devotions together, and you're looking for a quick fix. And you say, oh, well, that didn't work. Well, that didn't work. So we tried. And the truth is that both of you have to be willing to put 100% of effort in. I'll tell you this: I've seen God pull a lot of people through a lot of things simply because they were willing to allow Him to take over, and they were able to turn over some of this bitterness and resentment. Also, not only we see people have a loss of hope in this relationship in this cold, dark time, we also see fantasies of escapism. Is how can I escape this? It's, at that time you're thinking, I don't even want to be remarried again. I don't necessarily want to be in a relationship. I just don't want to be with this person anymore. Shouldn't God want me happy? I mean, isn't that what He really wants? I mean, even though He's referred to as the son of sorrow, don't God want me happy in my life? Isn't that what God wants? You start feeding yourself these kind of lines, and you start listening to other people and other people that you want them to agree with you. You don't necessarily find or seek out biblical counseling. You want people that will listen to you. And even some of these people will want to help you even get out of these relationships and out of these marriages, and try to set you up with somebody else where they had no business even having their nose in your business. And so where you had never really pictured divorce before, all of a sudden you're beginning to become a spectator of this and what this looks like. What you once thought in the romance stage is, I'll always be with this person, the unthinkable now begins to frequent your thoughts. And you think about it even more. You even begin to throw it out in arguments like, let's just go get a lawyer. Why do we even continue this? And every time that there's an argument now, the wife sits there and thinks, well, I guess this will be it. Or the husband thinks, well, this will be it. The glow of romance is gone. And there's no more heart beating fast, and you just resent that person. You don't even want to talk to them. And so the couple begins to dream of better days. Instead of working on the present needs and begin to very much rekindle and to invest in each other, they begin to find out that once their kids have reached a point where they're really not in so much need of them anymore, they now can drive and they have jobs on their own, and they realize that they had invested so much into their kids relationship, that they had totally forgot about each other. So wives begin to soak up romance novels, or they begin to watch movies that these two people are madly in love with each other, and they think, oh, that's all I want. And what husbands do, because the financial pressures have increased also, the husband says, you know what, I'm just going to work, and I'm happier at work, and I'm appreciated at work, and I'm not disrespected at work, and my ego is stroked at work. In fact, there's a couple ladies there that they would just love to be married to me because they have told me that. And they can't believe that any woman would not want me. And so I am appreciated at work. And because I'm appreciated at work, therefore I'm going to work longer hours. Pastors even find themselves during this time. Pastors that never would think about leaving their spouses or having an affair. Many of them are having an affair. And listen to me, and this is not the kind of affair that you're thinking about with another woman. Pastors are having an affair with the church. Because how can a wife fight against a pastor spending more and more and more hours at the church when the church becomes the other woman? You know what? Her husband is not unrighteous for sleeping with the church, for being with the church, being at the church all the time. Nobody considers this immoral. In fact, he is doing God's work. So you start seeing pastors' wives, they become more distant, and they begin to get a hatred for the church because he has allowed it to steal the relationship that he's supposed to be at home. And so here's a very strong temptation, what I've seen from marriage year 15 up to 25. I have seen where even up to 30 years that more and more people are calling it quits during this winter time. More and more people are entering into my office at this time when they've invested so many years, and they're saying, I'm done and I'm not going to continue on any longer. Now, before you're tempted to give up, before you're discouraged, hold on. And I'm going to tell you, hold on. And we're getting ready to see some things turn around. It's very important during this winter time, during this cold, dark time, that you work and you work at your relationship very hard. When you start seeing the things that you've done, we're going to start seeing confession is very important. We're going to start seeing some things in spring when you rekindle what that looks like. But regression in wintertime is a very, very real thing. And it happens to a lot of people. But hold on, there's hope. Spring is coming.